we provide the data in a way that a human can use it, but we're not trying to replace your sales rep, which is, I think, what a lot of sales enablement companies or lead gen companies try to do. They try to automate the sales process versus what we really as buyers expect, which is kind of the hearts and minds. We want a good product, but we also want the person just at the other end who understands us.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined by Dominik Korte, the board member and advisor behind Market Intent, an AI sales data and research platform that's helping B2B teams improve prospecting, outreach, and sales performance. At RevGenAI, we build podcast-led outbound and authority systems for B2B founders. And this show is where we're really focused on how leaders like Kevin are really adapting AI to generate real revenue in 2026. Today, we're going to speak about how Kevin is really focusing market intent and really what AI can change inside of your sales motion and help, learn how to use better data and improve the sales process, all leading to measurable pipeline. Kevin, it's great to have you.
Happy to be here.
Perfect. Can you just share a little bit about what sparked the idea behind market intent and what did you see was missing in the way B2B teams were actually prospecting, doing, research and outreach?
Well, I mean, we're both doing sales outreach, so you know how the sales cycle works. You go somewhere, get a giant list of leads with your contact data, which you should call, and then you go to their website, you figure out, is that really someone I want to go for? Are they doing what's my focus group? And then go like, okay, who's the right contact? Does it match with the phone number I have? And then you actually do the sales part of picking up the phone and calling them. And until the call actually happens, in most cases, half your day is already over. Which, if you hate doing cold calls, is great because you can get lost in your research. But it's also not very efficient if you want to actually get sales. So market intent does exactly that research phase. As in, it goes at the website, the AI looks at it, says, okay, here are the 5 bullet points of what we call the customer profile. And this is the right contact. Reach out to them. And then if you already have clients, it can even find, here are the 5 ones which are really close to your clients. And that makes it a lot more efficient because then the human can focus on calling the people, sending them content material, sending them maybe podcast clips. And that way building really the connection and not doing the menial work of going in. Plus, the AI is really great at finding information. So one of our clients, for example, wanted just people who ship via UPS, not via FedEx, not via USPS. And the AI can find these data out of like terms of services. Versus if you send a human to do that, you can go through the terms of service for a whole day till you find something.
Yeah. It makes me think of like, don't send the human to do a robot's job. This repetitive things that we find ourselves doing and take up so much of our time are now completely augmented, or they're able to be augmented with AI so that we can focus on really what matters. So I'm curious, just to sharpen our understanding of how you're positioning market intent for a sales leader who looks at your services, what's the clearest business problem that you guys solve first? Is it mostly lead quality, or is it the reps, productivity, or is it the ability to have personalized data, or pipeline conversion? What's the angle that you guys focus on hardest?
We like to say we give the salespeople time to sell. So the kind of the combination of lead quality and lead research. So you go into the conversation well prepared with better data than you can find yourself, and you can do it more often than what you could do if you would do the research yourself. And that kind of enables you to sell more, really.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of companies right now that are saying that they're doing AI for sales. Everybody understands that like this is completely changing the game. What's possible now is completely different from what was possible a year ago or 2 years ago, what we had to do as, outbound sales reps. What does market intent really do differently from all the other AI companies who are trying to capture this segment when it comes to actually helping reps behavior or buyer outcomes?
I think the big difference is what we not do. We don't do the communication part. So if you go to many of our potential competitors, you might even say they go a step further, where you click on up, send the email. Now Meir has his data or has his intro, and you're like, AI spam, great, gone. And it's really, we provide the data in a way that a human can use it, but we're not trying to replace your sales rep, which is, I think, what a lot of sales enablement companies or lead gen companies try to do. They try to automate the sales process versus what we really as buyers expect, which is kind of the hearts and minds. We want a good product, but we also want the person just at the other end who understands us, especially if we go into B2B sales, where you make hundreds of thousands of dollars on a single deal. But let's be honest, we rather justify a bad deal with someone we really like than finding the best deal with a computer.
I think that's a really sharp insight. I continue to go back to the understanding that human psychology won't change. It hasn't changed since we've, evolved. Technology has completely changed our day-to-day life, but what builds trust, what we like about each other and why we choose to engage and solve problems for each other and do business together, that's probably going to continue using the same fundamentals of psychology and really sales psychology. And so I think that that's a really sharp positioning because, yeah, I also kind of think of that the same way of how we're building RevGenAI is to enable at the end of the day more human relationships, and human relationships are built by this experience of actually speaking, not speaking with a robot. And so you have to actually build a relationship off right. And I think that last 10% where a human adds their touch and actually can connect is where, if you build everything to enable that so that a sales rep can just focus 100% of the time on what actually moves sales forward, I think that that's a smart approach. I'm curious about how you're positioning your engagements, because you have a lengthy sales cycle. So when you're selling a high ticket product, what proof points matter most from buyers to actually get interested and shift from that interest into a real commitment?
I think the first big hurdle is getting them to actually try it out and then comparing it to what they did before. Because it's, as you said, it's a crowded market. Everyone is saying, okay, our sales product can make your sales better. And then after you tried the search, you're like, nah, I'll stick with what I've done for 100 years, and kind of getting over that first hump is, I think, the biggest hurdle, because you're trying to stand out in a crowded field. And yeah, that's kind of a problem, which I said, we try to solve it in our own product. So we are our own best customer there. But yeah, it's getting out there, often getting someone who knows the prospect or who's the customer, get them to kind of vouch for us. And that often gets the ball rolling. Then you have often someone in the middle of the sales team trying it out. So it's not the top star seller, but it's also not the intern who really doesn't want to do calls. So it's often assigned to someone who's in the middle, and then you see their sales numbers peak up, and that often convinces the sales lead or the head of sales, the chief revenue officer, to go in more. And that's kind of builds the trust. So you have the trusted contact who says, yeah, try it out. Then it gets to the middle of the pack person who's, you try it because I don't want to. and then kind of you get to the success.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're not the only one who's experiencing this. A lot of companies that, jumped on AI as the next revolution and delivering excellent products and services are all kind of experiencing, I think, the same thing where now everybody's shouting from the rooftops, look at me, look at me. It's very hard to build that trust, which again is probably always the limiting factor to the sales process, is building that trust. Because once you have the trust, once somebody knows that you understand them, you understand their problem, and they understand that you can actually help them, then it's easy. They'll actually invest the time, invest their resources. But getting over that first hurdle, I know is most challenging, especially with AI completely enabling everybody to just do way more volume of outreach, way more volume of touch points, and people are getting inundated. So again, like that approach, I think, of like really focusing on how you build the trust, that's important. I'm curious, where do you see AI creating the most measurable revenue impact right now? Is the highest leverage point like finding the right accounts with smart signals, researching buyers, writing better outreach? Or I'm also interested because you guys are also enabling your reps to have better coaching from AI, right? So what part is really creating the most measurable revenue impact right now?
I think the most measurable impact is everywhere where you'd say, okay, I'm now going through the motion of. That's the same with sales research. It's the same. I'm going through the motion of doing a write-up of this podcast, or I'm going through the motion of doing the follow-up email. All these mechanical things, because they're important. You don't want to go into the sales meeting without having researched it, and you don't want to go out it without sending, hey, thanks for having the sales call with me. But it's also such a time waster. And I've heard the interesting story of how we got a lot more managers and knowledge workers by firing their secretaries, because everyone is writing their own emails now. And so it might be just bringing back the secretary as AI is really the high value proposition, because it gives everyone else who needs someone time to really focus on their job, which might be selling, might be managing, but it's not really writing 400 sales emails or researching 400 people.
Yeah, I like the understanding of, it's not here to replace the sales motion. It's not here to just do everything like a robot would do it, because no matter how much you try, the robot still doesn't act exactly like you, at least not yet. And people can kind of have that sixth sense of, is this a robot written email? Is this an AI avatar, or is this a real person? Right. And I think that, like, again, trying to speed up the process of what you would naturally do to make a sale can definitely bring in revenue, right? It's just about, at the end of the day, you need less sales reps to bring in more deals, or the sales cycle can move faster because of these enablements. But since you mentioned that, client acquisition is the biggest lever right now in growth, where's the biggest gap for you between the growth that you want and the current revenue engine that you're using, and you're actually using your own product, right? You're like, as they say, you're eating your own dog food. But where do you see the biggest gap between where you'd like to be and currently the process, the engine that you're using to get there?
Well, it's often in having the references. We are a startup, so we have strong references in, for example, roofing. But if we then want to go into plumbing technology, or so the people who sell the plumbers their pipes, they really don't care what the roof guy says. So you have very small niche groups where you can easily sell in, and kind of breaking out of them is always hard and requires a lot of legwork to find like the first 3-4 customers in your next micro niche. I think I'd say it's a struggle every startup faces, and it's a struggle we face, and where, really, then we're at the coaching part, coaching people to just bite through it, do the 400 calls till you have the first one. It's frustrating, and everyone who does sales will know it's frustrating, but it's part of the bread and butter of being a good salesperson, and getting through there till you have the reference, till you get the word of mouth out there, till people accept your thought leadership in their publications and their ideas, or even your advertisements in their publications. It's unfortunately not anymore the world where you can go out with a marketing department and say, here's $1,000, print my ad in your newspaper, because there's so many who say, hey, I want to be in your blog or in your podcast. How much does it cost? And they're like, nah, you're not relevant for my readers. And kind of building that credibility is, I think, the biggest hurdle and the big step needed, and the big step we work on.
Yeah, that's the toughest one, is because it's the chicken or the egg. What started first? And to build that credibility, you need to find your wedge point to be able to start the conversation, understand the pain point. Once you're working, then you can improve your product, and it's a constant cycle. But I like to think a lot of times about, the riches are in the niches. You get your foot in the door with a specific avatar, and you can grow that until you grow out of that market, and see how you can capture similar markets with the credibility that you already built. But yeah, there's no easy way to do that. To end things off, if you were to sit across from somebody who's just starting out, especially now in the age of AI, 2026, who knows what's going to be, 2027, 2030. What advice would you give somebody who's just starting out their journey in business and needs to, and wants to learn and get better at sales and bringing value to the marketplace, especially with the way things are nowadays? What advice would you give them?
As I'm consulting with a number of startups, I think the big advice is call your customer or call your prospect. It's as much as we love emails, as much as everyone loves to send short messages, put out videos, you don't get the best feedback until you pick up that old phone, or maybe put on your earbuds and use your smartphone to actually call someone and talk to them. As much as people say they hate it, somewhere, even if your client, or if it's a person who you call seems to hate you, I can guarantee you they don't hate you. They probably don't even remember you by the time you hang up. So don't fear it, just call people and get real people's feedback.
Yeah, that's a really good point of advice, because again, I think nothing's going to really replace the human to human conversation, as long as we're still in charge of the buying power before AI takes that too. I think that there's nothing that can replace the actual conversation. So yeah, getting to the conversation sooner and getting over that hurdle of what people may think about you. It's really amazing, because you can just get so much valuable insight from just having the right conversation with somebody who you're actually trying to work with. Thank you for all these insights, Kevin. For anyone who wants to reach out to you or find market intent, where's the best place for them to go?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn or on my personal website, which is korte.co. That's KORTE.co. And from there you find both market intent and ways to contact me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kevin.